being a city, and it's kind of like a 2-3 part question, but what's the relationship between, you know, like DC not being a state, how does that affect us when it comes to federal sentencing? And also, how does that affect us when it comes to, like you said, coming up with this comprehensive re-entry, like, you know, policies?
Yeah, I think, you know, with us not being a state, you know, in 1997, the National Capital Revitalization Act, that I think Bill Clinton wound up signing into law, really gave the federal government control of our criminal justice system. And so with that, you know, again, the city doesn't inform what happens to our residents when they go to prison, right? Particularly from a rehabilitative standpoint, it's not under our control, right? Now, everybody goes into the federal system, though. It's, you know, just like in the state, you have your state courts, you have your district courts. When DC, you got the Superior Court, which is for DC code offenses, right? You break local law, and then you also have, you know, district court, which is the federal court. And though it's just here, no matter which court you come out of, you go to do your time in the federal system. But everybody from DC doesn't have a federal charge. When it comes to federal laws, though, right? We don't have input because we don't have a voting member. We don't have senators, right? Yeah. So we don't have input. Whatever happens.
Like people were talking about, it's almost like we like somebody holding our hand almost.
No, in fact, we don't have any voice, but we do pay more taxes than people in majority of the states. But we are it. Taxation without representation, right? We cannot inform what happens on a national level. That's the problem. Like, and so there are people from other states that make the decisions for us. And so to bring this full circle, right? So we've had, like, the committee in Congress has to sign off on everything that happens. We're under what they call home rule, but a congressional committee could not allow us to do certain things. If, just for instance, if the Democrats lose the midterm elections, right? If they lose the House and the Senate, and then in 2024 they get a Republican president, right? Quite possibly, just say it's a DC, very liberal city, DC, the pro-choice city. But after this Roe v. Wade decision in the Supreme Court, DC would be like, abortion is still legal in DC, but that Republican Congress could say no, right? Our gun laws, right? We had some of the strictest gun laws in the country. That if that ship goes to the right with the Republicans, our gun laws could be changed from a congressional level. That can't happen in the state. The state has to do it, right? So for people out there who want to understand, like, what, you know, a lot of times Congress has sort of been on our side, if you will, as far as, you know, letting DC sort of control its own affairs, but it does not have to be that way. Those are the things that, you know, are dangerous to our way of life. We don't really have control over our own destiny in DC because we're not a state. Yeah. You know, for those of us that grow up there, I think we are oblivious to a lot of that. Yeah. You know, and again, in our lifetime, Congress has not overstepped, you know what I'm saying? But they could.
They can, right? They
can. And it would be absolutely nothing we could do about it. The last thing I'm going to say on that, just for people, as far as how problematic this can be in a worst case scenario kind of thing, but on January the 6th, our mayor cannot activate the National Guard. She does not have that power. In a state, the governor, the mayor is akin to a governor. Mm-hmm. If we were a state, we wouldn't have a mayor. The mayor would be the governor, right? Which she could, the governor controls the National Guard. Right. You know, get what I'm saying? The president is really the governor of the District of Columbia.
Yeah. And we saw that between her and Trump.
You know what I mean? So those are the kind of things that, you know, so we, from a policy level, we don't have a voice. And, you know, our warrior on the Hill, Eleanor Holmes Norton, she's a delegate. You know, when the Democrats are in power, they empower her, but she's not a voting member. Yeah. She's not a voting member, and obviously we don't have senators, so.
Yeah, man. Now, with your career,